So today was the non-tender deadline, and the Mariners non-tendered four players. They rank from pretty surprising to not surprising at all. The least surprising is J.T. Chargois, not because he would have been super expensive, but the Mariners already designated him for assignment, so it doesn't really make sense to tender him a contract. The other three names are a little more significant: Austin Voth, Josh Rojas, and Sam Haggerty. And maybe I should have ended with Rojas there, but yeah, that's the big one. But let's go in order. So let's talk about DFAing Austin Voth. This is the one I think I'm the most surprised by because I just talked about Austin Voth for Mile Y enthusiasts and talked about a year that, if you look just by WAR, he wasn't great. He was worth 0 F WAR. He was worth negative 0.2 B WAR. But I think the numbers are better than that. And I think the results were better than that too. I thought he was a perfectly cromulent reliever, somebody that I was happy to have back as your sixth or seventh man in your bullpen. I'm really surprised by this decision. Now, I have to be honest, I haven't taken a look at what exactly he'd be making in that arbitration year. It can't be enough for me to say, boy, you got to get rid of this guy. Sam Haggerty. So I know Sam Haggerty is a personal favorite for a lot of folks, and I get it. He plays hard. He has the cutest darn dog in the world. Manicotti is a terrific name for a dog. He's just not good enough for me to be too upset by this, And he's someone I think you could probably bring back for a cheaper salary, maybe even a minor league deal, invite with spring training. Wouldn't shock me if they wanted to keep him around. He's been a guy who's been really good against lefties at times in his career. He can play a bunch of positions. He's not great at any of those positions, but he can play them, and versatility does matter. But I get it. Like, most organizations aren't willing to pay 7 figures for what Sam Haggerty gives you. So a little disappointing, but not crazy. The big decision here is non-tendering Josh Rojas. So it's interesting. It's interesting because I think there's good and bad that comes with this. The good, I think, is that planning on having Josh Rojas be a starting infielder for you next year would have been a terrible plan. A terrible plan. He's not a good enough offensive player. Now, let's give him a ton of credit. He took to third base after a little bit of scuffle early in the year. He was an outstanding defensive player. Outstanding. And while he was scuffling at third base, let's also note that this seems a little hyperbolic, he kind of carried that Mariner offense for a little bit. I mean, I'm going to pull up the numbers now. He was that good that we have to take a look at the numbers early in the year. Okay, in the 2 games that he played in March, he went 4 for 8, which is a really good start. Obviously, that sample's too small to do anything with, but April, not that small a sample. 58 at bats while he was not playing against lefties at all. And we'll talk about him against lefties in a second. But in April, this dude hit 293, 397, 534. 3 homers, stole a couple of bags, and then it all falls apart pretty quickly. In May, it's bad, but it's not like crazy bad. He hit 244, 293, 314. No power whatsoever. But, it's a bad month. And then from that point on, actually July's pretty bad too. June, 594 OPS. July, 654 OPS. August, 500 OPS. We went 11 for 61. And then in September, 545 OPS. So if you take away April, Josh Rojas was a terrible offensive player. And here's the other thing about Josh Rojas. When I say he can't hit lefties, I don't mean he's not good against them. I mean as close to literally as possible. Josh Rojas cannot hit left-handed pitching. He went 8 for 60. That's a 133 average. He hit 0 doubles, 0 triples, and of course, 0 home runs. He struck out 23 times in those 60 at-bats. That's doing the math in my head. That's got to be close to 40%. And he only walked 6 times. So that's a line of 133, 224, 163. Okay. And I think 133, excuse me. I have a little smudge on my computer. That's a 357 OPS. Okay. That's kind of unusable. And when you're 243-18 to get 370 against righties, that's not, it's crazy to say that's not as terrible. It's certainly not as terrible as it used to be. 688 OPS is bad, but it's not like an outlier or like a career ruiner. That's what I was trying to say. But it's not good. And when you combine that 688 with a 357 OPS, a literal 224 on base percentage, which means that 78.6% of the time against lefties, it got out. That's awful. That's horrendous. And it doesn't matter how good of a defensive player you are. So I get it. But I will say, Josh Rojas made an awful lot of sense as somebody to keep on your bench. Josh Rojas made a ton of sense in that regard. And now I got to look up what exactly his financial situation would have been. So let's just look at what the projected salaries would be for all the guys that they DFA'd today. Austin Voth would have made $2.2 million. J.T. Chargois, this is estimated, of course, an estimated $2.2 million. This according to MLB Trade Rumors, who does a phenomenal job with this. J.T. Chargois would have made $1.7 million. Josh Rojas would have made $4.3 million, and Sam Haggerty would have made $900,000. So quick math, 4.3 plus 1.7 is 6, plus 2.2 plus 900K. It's about $9 million in savings to get rid of those guys. It's pretty sad if the Mariners need that $9 million, because the Mariners didn't get better today. Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. Those are guys that I'd really like to have around, including Chargois, who, was not very good for Seattle, but has had a history of success when healthy. I don't love these decisions today. I get it, but I don't love them. And they certainly didn't make the Seattle Mariners better. You should have been able to trade Josh Rojas. You probably should have been able to trade Austin Voth. Haggerty, probably not. Chargois, definitely not after the DFA. But yeah, I don't think the Seattle Mariners got better today. Or rather, obviously they didn't get better. I don't think they set themselves up for success by doing this. I think this, and you know what? If you just want to call me a Mariner hater, or you want to call me the negative Nancy, or whatever phrase you want to use, fine. But I have no evidence that this would be what makes the Seattle Mariners better. I don't see it. By the way, everyone else tendered. Luis Urias was obviously let go a while ago. But Trent Thornton, Randy Rosarina, Logan Gilbert, Taylor Sassetto, Big Dumper, who, yes, we could talk about that maybe later, that he changed agents. I don't know if it makes a huge difference or not. I've heard mixed things in that regard. Gabe Spire, and of course, George Kirby. What do you think? Do you like these decisions? I know there are a lot of people who really, really don't like Josh Rojas, and I think they'll be okay with it. I know some folks who really, really don't like Austin Voth, and they'll be okay with it. But would you prefer to not have them? And do you trust the Mariners to upgrade on what they have? Eye of the beholder, I suppose. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Lots more stuff coming. Really appreciate the support. And to those four, thanks for being Seattle Mariners. It was fun.